Let me welcome all of you to this wonderful event to finally see the start of the construction for the 32 units of family housing, affordable family housing in East Boston. This is not just celebrating the building of the housing, but this site is special. Every time I do this, I disclose how old I am, but I was born 75 years ago, 2 blocks from here on Harbor Street. And, you know, a lot of people refer to the 40s as the good old days. I don't know how good they were. I know that our parents worked like hell to survive and make a living and to hope to move us forward. And there was no little leagues. There was no organized sports like there are today for some of the kids, but what we did do is we needed something, and this place was very special to us. This is where I played and caught my first baseball. This is where I played basketball. This is where I went into that building and spent many hours of fun with myself and my friends and the kids in the neighborhood. And what's amazing to me is that they provided us. The Salesian Fathers provided us with hope for the future and faith in ourselves. And it's something that a gift we could never repay them for. And the most amazing thing, it's 75 years later, and they're still doing it in East Boston. The Salesian Fathers. A little after I was here, another gentleman from East Boston, growing up in East Boston, raised here, also got instilled with the by the Salesian Fathers with faith and hope. That person was named John Nazaro. I want to introduce to you that person who's now Father John Nazaro of the Salesian Fathers. Father.
As I was looking at the chart there, I was looking at Michael Intabadalo's name. I went to school with his younger brother, and who passed away when we were in high school. And there's a lot of memories as I look out into the assembly today. I also look at the building there. That's where I learned how to play poker at 7. Lost a few bucks. That's why I became a no. But anyway, let's just begin with the beautiful prayer. And I know this is a tremendous operation that's been going on for a number of years in the background. I know Al didn't say that, but it has been going on. Dear God, as we gather on this beautiful day, we are blessed with the wonderful public officials that we have, especially our mayor, who cares about the people. And we gathered together this morning to guide their hands, guide the hands of those who will be employed in this project, that it will be a blessing for our community, and that East Boston stands strong once again. May Almighty God bless each and every one of us and our families. Amen. God bless you.
Thank you, Father. You know, it's not easy to get a project to this stage where we're actually breaking ground. It takes enormous leadership. But it's when you look at what we need from the city, not just a little bit of leadership, but we need them to have a total commitment to the ideas of what we're trying to do here, to have affordable housing for our families, to know that there are working families struggling to stay in East Boston, and with all these rising costs and rising costs, we need a mayor who knows and understands them, who understands the problems that they're going through. And everybody we've worked with at the city, and I know it comes from the top, but when we deal with Dan D and Sheila Dillon and all of her staff, you see that in their minds and in their hearts, that they want to help They want to be part of the solution that keeps people in their homes, that gives them a place in East Boston. Because believe me, that's what makes East Boston great. The hardworking families struggling to raise their children and to bring them into the future. We have in the mayor's office a person who, it's easy for the mayor to just make a call or do this, but he does so much more than that. He has in it a commitment. He has in his heart a feeling for the people and their problems. He knows. He just knows what these families are going through, because I'm sure his family at some point went through a lot of this. So when we look at the mayor's office, we're not just looking at someone who helped us, who made a call, who provided some money. We're looking at someone who in his heart has been not just a leader, but a champion of the goals for us and from the CDC and for East Boston. So it's with great honor and pleasure that I introduce to you the Mayor of Boston, Marty Walsh.
Thank you, Al, and thank you for that introduction. And I'm blessed. I have great people working with us in the city. Sheila Dillon, Chief of Housing for the City of Boston, has done incredible things. We launched a housing plan a couple of years ago to build affordable housing and moderate income housing for families to keep them in the city. And at that time, we saw a lot of high-end condos being built. So we said we got to do more, and we're trying to do more and more every day. We sat with the business community for the inclusionary development, and they stepped up, and they're paying more money into a fund, or they're building more. There's a story in the Globe today about more housing being built, more affordable housing being built. So we're getting there, and East Boston's a great neighborhood, deserves it. So I want to thank Sheila. Tommy Gannon, this is his project. I've known Tommy for a long time. When I was a state representative, Tommy was active, and still is, but active in Dorchester, and I know he cares about people. I know his passion is there. So Tom, thank you as well for the work on this job that you're doing, and Sheila and your team, thank you. Eva and the architect team, thank you as well for your great work here. Al and his team, along with the elected officials. I know when I first got elected mayor, I really didn't know Al that well. I knew who he was, obviously, because you do, and he'd call the office and not ask for stuff. He'd tell you what you're going to do, and I call Salam Matia one day. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And he goes, well, he just gets it done. I said, yeah, but he goes, that's how he does it, and you learn that, and you see that somebody who has the respect of people, and who actually, when he does that, is caring about people. So thank you, Al, for all the great work you're doing here as well. Thank the elected officials behind us, Sal, Adrian, and Joe, for their great work, who represent this neighborhood as a unit, and then also Nisa Sabi, George, who I jokingly say to her all the time, her second home is East Boston. Before she was a city council, she was a teacher in Eastie. We grew up in the same neighborhood. We grew up on the same street. And she's as much a part of East Boston as anyone from East Boston. So thank you, Anissa, as well, for your great work. Father John, I can't say enough about Father John and the Salesians. This guy does so much with so little. Quietly does it. And thank you, Father John, for your prayers today. And thank you for your support in East Boston, in the city of Boston. You do some incredible stuff. In our city, when you think about Salesian Boys or Girls Club, when it started here, you think about the mission it had then, as Al talked about and Father prayed about. The mission hasn't changed today. Salesian Club is still in East Boston, and this spot here is going to be housing for people that need it. You think about the mission is continually the same. The generations from 75 years ago to today really aren't different. We still have families that need help. We still have working class families in our communities. Many of the folks in East Boston that came here 75 years ago came from a little island. Not an island, but a boot off an island. My family came from an island, and they came to these shores of East Boston and the North End and Salty, and they raised a family, and we're seeing the same thing repeat itself today. We're seeing the same types of families coming in, maybe from different countries, but the same stories are being told today. That 75 years from now, they'll be sitting here talking about the new immigrants coming in and probably complaining about them. But it's important for us as we continue to move forward. Parish Village is an example of how we work together. 32 units of affordable housing, 4 of them dedicated to formerly homeless families getting back on their feet. In Boston, in the last 3.5 years, with the help of all the elected officials, we've been able to house in a home 1,100 people that were homeless the day that I got sworn in as mayor of the city of Boston, in an apartment, in a home. This is going to continue that effort to be able to help families. All of them are going to be 2- and 3-bedroom homes for working families of East Boston, and that's what the people of East has been calling for, all different parts of the neighborhood. The city's invested over nearly $2 million into this project. The state's invested $2.1 million. So this is a true public-private partnership where the city and the state and all of us are having a part in investment in this. I want the team of builders, thank you to all the designers at East Boston CDC for your great work. Thank you to all the architects. East Boston certainly has a long, proud history of standing by and sticking up and fighting for the disadvantaged. And that's another example today. Paris Village will allow a new generation of East neighbors to make their own memories here in this neighborhood. Steps from the East Boston Memorial Park and the YMCA, East Boston Main Street District, is a place for families. As you know, it's the site of the Old Boys and Girls Club, so it's an honor to see that this land is still serving the people and giving back to the neighborhood, and that's what's exciting about today. Creating homes like these make it possible for families to build their life beyond what they imagined. And that's what it really is. It comes down to it. We're investing all over East Boston, like Coppersmith Village right down the road. 56 rental units, 37 affordable are under construction right now. When you think about it, those are the apartments that families can actually live in. Today is just continuation of great things that's happening in this community. And the people of Eastie, to the residents, last group of people I want to thank, to the residents here, thank you. Thank you for what you do. I have no idea if this project was controversial when it first came out, if it wasn't controversial, but I know that we're here today at a groundbreaking, and there was a lot of discussions that made this project better. And I want to thank the community for your involvement and input. And oftentimes, we had an event yesterday in Dorchester, and we were kicking off. It was a housing for basically people with disabilities, severe disabilities. And it didn't start out smooth in the neighborhood process. It started out very bad. And yesterday there was neighbors there, and everyone was sitting under the tent talking about how they came to a process. And generally, that's what we have to do, continue to work together to come to a process. So to the community, to the neighbors here, thank you. To the elected officials behind us, special shout out to Sal Martina. Because as this year winds down, he's winding down his career as an elected official. And one of the first meetings we had in the office was about the excitement of what's going on in East Boston and all the development that people were happy about at the time. But he also said, I want to make one thing clear. We can't forget about the people that live in Eastie now. We don't want to push them out. So Sal, hopefully this will help us towards that goal.
Thank you, Mayor.
Let me just introduce and thank some of the members of our team who worked so hard to make this work. The architect on the development is Michael Interbartolo. Michael, take it back. Mike originally started his career as a CDC employee. We got tired of all this crap in the office, so when he went off on his own, it made it a lot easier on us. But he's been great. He's done so many of our projects, and they've all turned out just beautifully. One of the consultants we use on all of our projects, because they're so good and so dedicated to what we're trying to do, is Affirmative Investments. And we have David Ennis here and Tara. Thank you for being there. Also, the contractor who's worked well with us to get this project within the numbers that we needed, Delphi Construction is here. And Rob, Chip? Well, Delphi and their crew that are here, thank you for your help in getting this done. Thank you. And then finally, my board of directors. We have a 19-member board of directors represented from all of the communities and interests in East Boston. But one of the very particular things we look for is the empowerment of the people we serve. We want them to control and to have a large say and what happens and what programs we undertake and what we do. So on our board, we do have a lot of tenants represented. And I'm going to introduce one of them to just say a few words on behalf of the board. And when I first asked her to do it, I said, oh, she's going to have trouble getting up in front of a crowd and do it. But to my surprise, she's going to do a lot better than I'm doing. Blanca Ayala, a board member and a tenant in our buildings.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of the CDC Board of Directors, I would like to thank everyone for being here today. My name is Blanca Ayala. I've been a lifelong resident of East Boston. I love East Boston. I'm a board member, but I'm also a tenant. I've been a tenant for the past 11 years. The CDC Board of Directors is made up of many tenants who we all feel empowered in the decision-making process that not only affects us as tenants, but also as residents of East Boston. The CDC, the City of Boston, and Mayor Walsh are doing great at providing quality housing for the residents of East Boston. We are also presently closing with the city on a program that's going to spend $7 million to update the renovation of our apartments. That's great. Also, not only are we excited to celebrate the beginning of that project, but also we're excited about this new development, 32 units for affordable family housing, something that the community is really in need of, especially now with the skyrocketing rent. This is like a breath of fresh air for our community. We are very excited. So thank you very much.
Put my glasses on. Okay. When something like this happens, it's a $14 million project, and money and resources have to come from a large number of sources. So, the person who's giving us the construction mortgage, Citizen Bank, we want to thank them for their help and participation in this. Did the State Department of Housing and Development, they also have provided us with tax credits and the like, and we want to thank them for their participation in all of this. Now, one new partnership for us, for the CDC, is the Massachusetts Housing Partnership. It's been such a pleasure working with them because this particular group has the same goals and ideals that we have. And they dived right in to help us out and to fill the gap and to make this thing work. And with that, I want to introduce their executive director, Clark Ziegler, who will say a few words on behalf of the Massachusetts Housing Partnership. Thank you.
Thanks. I just want to say the pleasure is mutual working with the CEC. We've financed something like 23,000 affordable housing units statewide, many of which are in the city of Boston, and somehow we managed never to do a project with you. We've remedied that now, and our folks, Nancy McCafferty and Alice Wong, are here having underwritten the loan. It has been an enormous privilege and pleasure to work with you and your staff and with Affirmative Investments for the long-term financing for this project. So the pleasure is all ours. I just want to make one really quick editorial comment about what a project like this, and this project in particular, means. When we look back in 10 or 20 years and say, you know, was Boston successful? How and why was the city of Boston successful? It's not just a question of how many new employers the city attracted, how many new jobs are created, how many new residents came to the city. It's also the question of, has this city continued to be welcoming for families of modest means, and a place where folks can afford to stay here, live here, raise families here? That's the real measure of success. And I have to say, that's what the CEC is about, that's what this mayor is about, that's what the elected officials behind me are about, and we are extremely proud to be a part of it. Thank you very much.
The other, you know, when we have an event like this and you start thanking all the people that are involved, it's just, you start to realize what it means to work in East Boston and be part of the system. Because we don't just get help from the CDC. In a project like this, we get help from Crossroads, who will help us with servicing the affordable units. We get help from the East Boston Social Center and all of the programs they bring to the project into East Boston. And actually, in the East Boston, I want to welcome their new director, Justin, and I'm going to pronounce the name because I know people have trouble with mine, Pasquariello. Did I say it right? Close enough? Justin, welcome, welcome, welcome. And as I said, the East Boston Health Center, all of our projects involve the East Boston Health Center, who deliver services to our buildings. And I know John Matthew from the Health Center is here, who's also not only an employee of the Health Center, but he's also on our board of directors. John, thank you. One of the worst things that happens when you do something like this is when you walk off the stage, you forgot somebody. And I apologize for that. But in moving on, I want to, we talk about our team. And I believe everyone who serves as an elected official in East Boston is part of our team, because they've never done anything but shown a commitment to the same goals and ideals that make East Boston great, that make East Boston prosper and do better. So I want to introduce them one by one and have them say a few words. First, our state senator, Joe Boncory.
Thank you, Al. And what a great team we have. I come from Winthrop, so this is only the first and second time that they've said I'm on the team here in East Boston, with the mayor and Al. But this production of units in this community is such a great need. It meets such a great need across this Commonwealth. Housing isn't just about housing families. It's about developing our Commonwealth and our city economically. There are jobs that need to be filled, and we can't fill those jobs if there aren't units available for people to live in. By 2030, there will be about 980,000 people, baby boomers, retiring out of our workforce. To fill those needs, we're going to need about 1.1 million new people in our Commonwealth in these jobs, and they're going to need someplace to live. So it's projects like this that will go so far. And I did say that a lot of baby boomers are going to be retiring, but Al, you cannot retire. We need you to continue doing the good work that you're doing and producing this housing, because it's so important for not only the fabric of this neighborhood, the city of Boston, but the entire Commonwealth across the board. It takes a lot of political will, and I'm happy to say we do have that will on this stage behind me. Currently, Rep. Martero and I are working on a $1.7 billion housing bond bill that will go very far in production and the preservation of housing that is affordable and affordable housing throughout the Commonwealth. And of course, we're so lucky to have a partnership with the City of Boston, the city councilors, and of course the mayor. Recently the mayor announced that he would be producing in the city 50,000 new units of affordable housing, and that's so important to the growth of this neighborhood in particular, but the city at large. And I just want to thank him publicly for that statement and that commitment to housing in this city, because it's going to go so far in developing the rest of the Commonwealth. So thank you all very much for being here, and I look forward to the ribbon cutting on this wonderful project. Thank you.
It's not always easy to work with all of our elected officials. Some of them push the hell out of me. They don't like the way I talk to some of the neighbors. But one of the things that makes them really good for me is that they're able to put a leash on me, work with me, and always, always take the side of what's best for the community. And one person like that is our state rep, Representative Madero.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Al. And honestly, you've been a godsend to this community for your years of dedication, you and your team. Thank you for all you do for East Boston. I am so excited to be here this afternoon, and that's for a couple reasons. First of all, this project is transformative for our neighborhood. We on the stage, we're always preaching balance and development for East Boston and across the city. And while we've been very fortunate to break ground and cut ribbons on a number of luxury units on the waterfront and across our community, it's projects like this that really help balance East Boston and provide opportunities for folks who are born and raised here and who want to stay in East Boston, the opportunity to do just that. And with the affordable units that'll be created here, whether they be for the families who are homeless or the working class families, which we really need to do more for those families to make sure that we keep them in East Boston, because that's who really makes up the fabric and the character of our neighborhood. So to Al and your team, thank you for this investment. And Mayor Walsh, thank you again. You have been committed to affordable housing from the day you stepped into office, and we need more of that, so thank you. Another reason why I'm very excited, and this is more sentimental, and Al and others have touched on it, but when I was growing up, this is the first Boys and Girls Club that I went to. And I was only able to go here for a couple years before it closed down and everything was consolidated up in Orient Heights. But for many generations, for Eagle Hill and Jeffries Point kids, this was where we, this was the club that we hung out in. This is where we made friends. I remember playing basketball on the courts, flag football here, and I just have such fond memories of this site. And so for many years it had sat vacant, and that always made me depressed, and many of us felt bad about that in the community. And after many years of dedication from Al and his team, finally we're going to be breathing new life back into the site, and that could not be more exciting and transformative for the community. So again, to all involved, thank you so much for your commitment, and I too look forward to the ribbon cutting. Thank you.
I hate doing this now because it might be, we're going to really rush this to try to get the ribbon cutting done. And I hope that we can do it before he leaves office, because he's done so much for this community that I know I'm going to miss him, because it was so easy to pick up the phone and yell at him and tell him what we needed to do, and he would always listen, and he would always help us. With that, let me introduce Sal Limatina.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Al. Before I start, I just want to recognize our Commissioner of Transportation, Gina Fandaga, East Boston resident, who makes us proud at City Hall. No, I just really want to take this opportunity to thank Al Cadarelli and the East Boston CDC board. I will be finishing up this year after 31 years working in the city of Boston, 11 years as the city councilor. And it always hasn't been easy, particularly with housing and development in this neighborhood. And I remember years ago when we were advocating for affordable housing in this neighborhood, we would get pushback from some residents that said, no, we want luxury housing in the neighborhood. And now we do have the luxury housing coming in this neighborhood, and now people want no housing in the neighborhood. But I want to commend Al and CDC because affordable housing is very important for this neighborhood. And it's so important today than ever before. There are families that are being forced out of our neighborhood today. And we need CDC, we need the knowers, those agencies, to stay invested in our neighborhood, to build more housing for our families so they can stay here. So with that, I just want to take this opportunity to thank the mayor for your commitment to our neighborhood. And to all the folks here that are here to celebrate this opening. I also was a young kid that went to Salesians Boys and Girls Club. I did not learn how to play poker at the Boys and Girls Club. We did play pool for money, but I didn't play poker. But it was really good. This one I was at the Salesian Boys and Girls Club, and Father John, you're doing a great job. And as you know, Father's job is Father John will still be at the Boys and Girls Club, and I had a new role in a few months. But we're so fortunate, Father John, to have you stay in East Boston at that Boys and Girls Club, because that is the most important agency that we have in this neighborhood for the young people in our neighborhood. So thank you all for being here. And Al, thank you for all your work, and to your team too. Thank you all.
Okay, we're going to wrap up. I did want to introduce a couple of our board members that are here. Reverend Don Coverdale, Hampton Fleming, and we have a former principal at East Boston High School, Michael Rubin. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. You don't need to hear from every politician. It's okay.
What?
Lisa George, the city councilor.
Oh. You know, I have to apologize. Who the hell pays attention to politicians that aren't born and raised in East Boston?
Be careful, I'm born and raised in Dorchester.
I know that. We have with us, you know, every time we go to the city council, I always depend on Sal to rope everybody in. But I kind of forget all of the contributions that our at-large city councilors do. And I did that just today, and I apologize for that. Lisa, come on up and say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you know, at least I get a hug.
No, in East First Ivy, Georgia, I'm a city councilor at large, and so happy to be whenever I can be in East Boston. I am born and raised in Dorchester, and they let me through the tunnel. I've got a special pass after spending so many years at East Boston High with the former headmaster and former guidance counselor Don Coverdale and Mike Rubin. Just thrilled to be here. I chair the Committee on Homelessness, Mental Health, and Recovery, and I'm so proud that families at Crossroads, that so many of you know so much about, and I know the folks are here from Crossroads, will have an opportunity to benefit from a project like this, because it is so important as a city that we take care of everybody. And organizations like AL's and the work that happens across the city that Sheila supports through D&D really makes sure that the most vulnerable across the city and those that have committed to being in the city are taken care of. So I'm happy to be here for this groundbreaking, happy to enjoy the day, and the last thing you need is more political speak, so I'll leave it there. Thank you, Al.
I think what we're going to do now is do a little bit of the groundbreaking. As you can see, we broke up some ground and have some shovels there. What I'd like to do is, if I can get, just for the photo op, if I can get, Frank, can you get a couple of guys to just put that back there?
On three. 1, 2, 3.